Can we have the roll call, please?
Yes. And I can only, I hope everyone, Amanda, I'm online today. It looks like part of the conference room's cut off. So I think that's committee member Foreman there in the corner who I can't see. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Hi. All right, thank you. Committee member Kavanaugh is absent. Committee member Keith.
Here.
Katz. Lynn. I see David Lynn and Stephanie Lynn. Okay. Is Marisol there?
No.
Oh, yep. Okay. Oh, Marisol's online. Okay. I see her. Committee member Shake
Here.
and Vice Chair Baird.
Here.
And then Chair Kasperzak is going to be absent.
Great, thank you. Okay, our next point of order is to approve the minutes. The minutes are included in our package and we're shown online. Are there any comments or corrections on the minutes?
Yeah, item 7.1. There's a little typo on there. Is Vice Chair Kasperzak.
All right, should be chair.
Should be chair or should be Vice Chair.
Okay, are there any other corrections or additions? Are there any comments from the public?
Not seeing anyone online.
Okay, seeing no questions, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
So move. Second.
Let you guys sort out who did what. So
So
Amanda.
was that a
Kate-
motion by Katz? Okay. Second by Shake. Okay.
Okay, and then can we see ayes to approve? Aye. Any nays? Okay, we're finished with that item. Item number 4 is upcoming agenda topics. This portion of the agenda is reserved for identification of agenda items for future meetings. Items on the future list include vacant storefronts, parking plan update, art murals in downtown, precise plan update, school performances in the downtown, joint meeting with visual and performing arts committees, street signs, PG&E, retail courts report, next steps, bike parking, historical markers, and busking ordinance. And that pretty much covers everything. Are there any other suggestions that we want to include?
Small thing about the downtown right now, since we have these, beautiful pathways. We noticed in the kids, when they drive wheelies over, there's kids walking around and they don't see the kids. So the other day, almost a kid got hit by a wheelie. So I'm not sure about the enforcing of the walking the bike, if that is even an option.
Okay, so there's a concern expressed by non-walkers. But then when you say wheelies, are you talking about the
You know,
little?
when they take the big bikes, the
Oh, and
electric
then-
bikes,
and pull
and
up?
they could pull up, so they don't really see what's in
Right.
front of them.
Well,
And so
they're more
concerned.
concerned about
Yeah.
showing off than.
Exactly, yeah, so it's maybe a bigger
safety.
sign or something, but just safety for pedestrians.
Mhm, okay. Any other suggestions for future topics? Do we need any more input on that, Amanda, for you?
Nope, I've noted it down. Thank you.
One other thing, Pamela, we talked a number of weeks ago, I think, about using Measure G funds to help out downtown. Is that something that we want to revisit? Is that something that the city would like more input on? Is the timing right?
Remind us what the Measure G.
Yeah, so
fund
Measure
is.
G was on the ballot last November, and it was to raise money for the city to use, and 5 to 15% of that balance was to be used to support small business. And the chamber actually spoke up at one of the city council meetings mentioning things that we were suggesting that could be used, and a number of those suggestions had to do with downtown.
Okay, Amanda, is that something that we can discuss?
So I actually found the resolution because Peter and I have been talking about this. So the discussion of the use of the Measure G funds happened during the, they received public input during the discussion of the annual budget. So it'll be part of the budget discussion, is when sort of the resolution notes that how funds will be used. So I'm trying to think about how we may or may not be able to provide input into that process from our committee. I'll have to ask, because we have our own, we have a budget process and, a pretty structured budget process. So I'll have to find out if there's a way for the committee to bring recommendations into that. As you all know, the budget will be approved this month, so we're kind of in the tail ends of it.
That's why I wanted to make sure that we had comments.
Yeah, I apologize. I don't know. Just given that they very specifically said it's part of the budget process. But if the committee wanted to, trying to think if we couldn't agendize it because we can't discuss it because it's not on the agenda. It may be too late this year for this committee to take action in advance of the budget, although perhaps as part of the mid-year budget adjustments, we could take formal action with a recommendation.
Great. Any other suggestions?
So the music on Castro, which I think is a great idea. However, I think it's underwhelming. I think the position of the performers is hidden. And I think that the whole experience is kind of lacking the whole music kind of little concert, vibe. I would suggest to move the tent towards actually put it on Castro, looking down onto the 300 block. And that way it kind of, people are much more, because, they pass by, they hear them, but they're like, because it's kind of hidden in kind of that house, China Delight, I think. But like if it's more centered, I think, and maybe a little bit elevated, I think it would have been it would be a better experience.
Okay, so noted. Do we entertain comments from the public on the budget?
We do.
Any comments from the public here or online?
I'm not seeing anyone online.
One more.
I'm on fire this
Oh,
morning.
I'm on fire.
I'm on fire. Just wanted to bring up a thing that I just found out about yesterday. San Jose is enacting an entertainment zone in downtown. Have you guys heard of that? I'm entertainment.
So we can definitely have a discussion of that. It is primarily an alcohol zone. So they're called entertainment zones, but they're primarily alcohol zones, just for clarification. I know we can't discuss it further, but I can bring more information if that's of interest.
Thank you.
Yeah, that would be great just to get more information. Okay. Oh, okay, one last call for ideas.
Once going twice.
Comments? Okay, any comments from the public? All right, then we will close this topic and move to number 5, oral communications from the public. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons wishing to address the committee on any matter not on the agenda. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes. State law prohibits the committee from acting upon any non-agenda items, which means we cannot discuss them. So do we have any comments from the public?
Not seeing any online.
Okay, seeing none, we will move on to item number 6, unfinished business. Downtown development updates.
They even have a music intro. I love it.
Morning, everyone. Morning. Vincent Kwan, Associate Planner here to give you guys downtown development updates. Very limited updates for this month. The only item is for item 4 on the list for lot 12. That item, there was a project modification that was submitted They were approved on May 19th. As you can see, the modifications were just the reduction in number of on-site parking spaces, the conversion of all ground floor commercial uses to residential amenity areas. That project is under review or for building permits right now. But aside from that, everything else is proposed to be changed for that project. Aside from that, everything else remains the same. Yes.
Can I ask a quick question on lot 12? Is there any chance that there will be a shovel to ground before the end of the year?
Yeah, I'm not sure exactly where they are in the building permit review. That really depends on, what items remain to be addressed with their building permits. And then, as from get building permit review to construction beginning, that really varies based on developer and the contractors.
And I'm just asking because that's one of the spots that we use for the Art and Wine Festival. And so knowing early on if we can use it or if we cannot is real important.
Yeah, I can definitely touch base with the project planner to see, what the status is, and I can provide an update to you.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's about all the updates that we have in terms of downtown development projects. But happy to answer any questions you guys have.
Do we have any more updates on some of the buildings that are either for sale, like the China Delight? And then there's another building for sale on, I think where Maston Architects used to be. Do we have are there any conversations with city staff by potential purchasers or users?
I'm gonna defer to Amanda for that one.
Yeah, so New China Delight, my understanding is there's quite a few parties that are interested. I have not, but that's all the information that I have. I didn't realize Maston's space was for sale. I saw that he had put for lease signs out there, but if his
I might have just looked at that.
yeah, so I'm not sure. I'll have to confirm whether he's actually selling it, but I know he's actively looking to lease it out currently.
Okay, great. Any other comments or questions?
Just comment. I noticed that quite a few projects that we're working on in downtown. Well, I don't see any effect in the traffic wise or all that. So, I mean, is somebody watching it, or it just happened to be that way, where timing is such that we don't see any kind of interruption walking by, road closure or anything at all?
Is there like a specific project or?
No, all around, from you walk, I mean, because I see the project going on Dana Street, then the other one, but still. And even,
The Jennings Lock Museum.
yeah,
So my understanding is that the Lock Museum, they have a tenant who's working through permits. That's on the 100 block, Vincent. I'm not sure of the exact address. And then in terms of the Dana Street construction project, so they've received their building permits or are mid-construction. I'm not sure about what the timing is. We could certainly find out. We're working to, I'm working with a consultant right now on communications around construction. And so it's our hope to be better tracking and have more updated information that we're sharing out to the public about construction happening in the downtown. So that's not something that's in place yet, but something we're hoping to work towards just so that people can get more information and be aware of potential disruptions.
Yeah, some of them seem interminably slow, discouraging to see things not moving along when we know there's a process.
I was gonna just also ask the update on next door to us, the Murphy's building. Because they said they were gonna start soon on construction, but nothing is.
Yeah, so for that's.
Is that 236?
I believe so, yeah, it should be on. Item number 13.
Addition and facade modification.
Yeah, so that one, I believe they're still working through the building permits. They're having difficulties with the construction staging and getting that all approved by Public Works. So I don't know what the exact timing of that will be, but that's why it's kind of getting held up right now in terms of construction.
Do you think that you're gonna be holding it throughout the summer, or if they get it, like, doesn't matter if we're gonna have like that happening during summer?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can touch base with the project planner and Public Works to see, you know, what their anticipated timing is, and then I'll provide an update.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Any other questions from our group? Any other questions from those watching? Anybody online?
Not seeing anyone online.
Okay, I think we're done with you. Thank you, Vincent. Thank you.
Thank you, Vincent.
Okay, so our next point of order is item number 7, which is new business. Item number 7.1, economic vitality strategy
Oh,
update.
I'm sorry, Pamela, we've got one more unfinished business, the Castro Street update.
Oh, I'm sorry, I scooped right by that. Okay, 6.2, Castro Street update. All I saw was Castro. Okay, staff will provide a verbal update on current efforts and activities related to Castro.
Okay,
And then nice PowerPoint.
all right, confirming you can see my screen.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so downtown updates. If you've scooped up the Downtown Digest that's there, you'll know you'll see a couple of these updates, but it's been a busy couple of weeks since we last met. So first, as we were just talking about, the decorative street treatment has been fully installed, and we're already seeing people take advantage of some photo moments. This was a really fun moment that got captured by our communications team. But yeah, we were pretty successful in getting that installed with minimal impacts to the businesses. I don't know if others have heard things differently, but I think our approach of closing down only half a block at a time really helped to minimize disruptions. Oh, I'm sorry, what was that?
I said it also helped to have good weather.
Yeah, well, yeah, absolutely. So things dried really quickly. So this is Mountain View's first citywide Pride celebration. It's happening this upcoming weekend here at Civic Center Plaza, and there will be activities for kids and music, and yeah, it should be a really fun event. I'm really hopeful that the unicorn you see is actually a sticker that may be floating around that I could maybe get my hands on, because it's quite cute. But event happening in the so a new event that's taking place in the downtown area. Reminder, patio licenses, the current agreements expire at the end of this month. And so businesses really need to be working on getting their renewal applications and their renewal documents in as soon as possible. We have, I think I see a member of the real estate team on the meeting today. But please, if you're in communications with businesses, please help get the word out that this is a top priority if they want to continue to have patio areas into the new fiscal year. Sorry.
Is anyone in communication with the businesses? So do we have like a list of people we need to reach out to?
So we are in active communication. We've gone around in person. We've gone around, we've sent out multiple emails. Let me just see, actually. I think I saw Justina, not to put her on the spot, but Justina, I'm just trying to promote you to a panelist. Do we have any businesses that we haven't been able to get a hold of, or are we in communication with most of them? Justina, can you hear me? And did you hear the question? Okay, well, we'll see if she can work on getting connected. Yes, so yes, one of the helpful things is that because it's mostly just renewals, is we do have contact information, but there are businesses that we're still working through the process with. But if there are new businesses that would like to have that now would be the time as well. Okay. Cornhole League. So Cornhole League starts next week. It'll be on the 300 block, and because of the huge success of it last year, there will actually be 2 evenings. So there's a Tuesday night league and a Thursday night league. I was actually walking downtown the other day and saw someone who brought their own cornhole bags and were using the space. So we've got some real pros out there in the community. So So yeah, that should be exciting. And again, just fun bringing a whole new population of people downtown. I think we should maybe talk about some potential facilitating some collaborations, maybe with some of the businesses. If you can show proof of registering for the Cornhole League, maybe you get like a discounted drink or something somewhere. But that's a future iteration, but more bodies in the downtown, which is good. Kidstock is in full swing. So we had our first event last month. The next one will be on June 21st. You can see, for those of you who are big fans, Martin and the Green Machine will be there. Mark your calendars. But this is just a really fun, kid-friendly day. Concerts in the Plaza also kick off this week. This is a busy week. There's a lot going on in June. So the first event there, I've circled it in yellow for you. There are 18 concerts. I think there's actually 5 in August, but it didn't make for a nice square, so it got cut off. But there are lots of events that are happening, and these are a really good time. And then, as I mentioned, the May Downtown Digest is out. It's sort of our summer edition, so there's a lot about events that are taking place. There's some information about the exhibit the art exhibit currently at the Center for Performing Arts. We talked a little bit about the summer reading program happening at the library. I did include a walk your bike reminder at the very end there. So getting a little bit to what you brought up, Marina. Yeah, that's a challenging one, but there are signs. We're trying to get the word out. Yeah, so can appreciate your help in continuing to remind people that they need to be walking. Okay, and those are the end of my updates. Oh, also, if you want any hard copies of the Downtown Digest, share with family and friends, always happy to print out extra copies, or if there are extras that are from today's meeting, feel free to take those as well.
Are there any in the room or the downstairs?
Yeah.
The agendas and
Okay.
where name tags were.
Amanda, again, I'd like to commend you and the team on the Downtown Digest. It's very visually exciting, well-written. Kudos to you and your team.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, any other comments from the public or those present?
Right here. So this weekend, I have seen, I mean, in a long time, it was just wild party going on, people
This past
dancing, the past weekend, yeah. It was great, fantastic. And we're gonna have a lot more than, especially on Friday, people dancing around and all that. Also, for the music on the Castro, right there, where people sit down, a lot of people still were riding on the bicycle. So I think PD put it, or something, they put in a barrier with the A-frame with a yellow tape. So it seems to be working. A lot of people realize that I really have to force myself in, so they get off the bike and then walk the bike. So both sides of the tent, they put a tiny frame.
Well, I was in Europe most of the month of May and went to a couple of cities with pedestrian malls, and this is not an uncommon challenge.
Yeah,
Trying to
yeah.
keep people off their bikes. So I saw a variety of different marquees and A-frame signs. So it's not an unusual challenge.
Exactly.
Any other comments from our group or the public?
Well, just to reiterate what Jamil said, I think that the new decoration in town has really brought people out. Like I'm every weekend, and ever since the decorative ribbons came about, I think it really brought families out, and it's just so beautiful to see. And I congratulate you, Amanda, and the rest for that. It's really beautiful to see, really, really.
We should do
Yeah,
all of
that
Castro
was-
Street.
Yeah. Well, major kudos to our Public Works team who led that construction project. And yeah, thank you for all your help with our getting the word out and communications. Make that as seamless as possible.
Great. All right. Any other comments? Any comments from the public?
Not
Okay,
seeing
now-
anyone online.
Okay, now we will move on to new business. 7.1, Economic Vitality Strategy Update. For the 3 reports and lots of information to glean from the report. So Amanda.
Yes, thank you. So yes, I provided you with a lot of information. We did just go to council with our annual update on the economic vitality strategy. So I provided all of that in there. I also prepared a memo on just all things downtown. And so that was included as an attachment to the economic vitality strategy update. And I also included it for you. That's a really good overview of all the work that's happened in the last 12 months or so. And kind of a nice reflection on all the hard work that we've been doing in the downtown. So it's a worthwhile read, even though it's like 10 pages long. Okay, but as we discussed last month, as we were discussing our work plan, it was noted that it might be helpful to just be oriented to the economic vitality strategy and some of the specific goals that we have for downtown that are called out there. As you know, the economic vitality strategy is sort of our North Star in terms of the work that the economic vitality team is undertaking and prioritizing. So I'll jump in, and I'm doing kind of a deep dive on our downtown goal. So the economic vitality strategy is a current strategic priority for the 2-year council work plan that ends at the end of this month. But it was really established as a key project and one of the ones that we accomplished. Last year, April 2024, council adopted the economic vitality strategy. And then, as I said, just last month, we brought an update to council on our year 1 efforts. The little circle graphic that you see there are sort of the priorities that have been established by the city council. And you can see in the orange box, economic vitality is one of those and will continue to be, as these are the strategic priorities for the next 2-year council work plan that'll begin July 1st. Just orienting you, I know many of you have seen this before, but this is the vision statement for the document. Mountain View seeks to create a thriving community where small businesses, innovation, entrepreneurship, and diversity are encouraged and flourish. We're aiming to be a global leader that balances a flourishing economy with the health and well-being of our community and the environment. So I think really demonstrating a real balanced approach to what we want to achieve. So there are 5 goals in the economic vitality strategy, and you can see those laid out before you. Goal number 1 is really about citywide commercial centers and helping to support those commercial hubs and community gathering spaces across the city. Goal number 2, as I mentioned, is all about downtown, and we'll dive a little deeper into that today. Goal number 3 is really around tactics and strategies to support sort of our proven, more established advanced industries and employers. So we're talking some of our larger sales tax producers, our tech companies, those that kind of are the big players and have a lot of employees and generate a lot of business here. And then goal number 4 is really around those small local entrepreneurs, some of the smaller businesses, which actually make up the grand majority of, in terms of pure numbers, are the grand majority of the businesses that we have. Small businesses really are the support system, the structure for local economy. So we have a whole number of strategies and goals there. And then goal number 5 is really around, I kind of think of it as sort of our internal work in terms of improving our development policies and processes there and making changes and improvements there. The document with all of the goals is available online. If you'd like a link, I'm happy to send that out as well. So to orient you a little bit to how the document works. So as you can see at the very top, sort of to the right, that's sort of a page directly out of the economic vitality strategy. So you have the goal at the top, and then there are a number of strategies that are associated with it. So goal number 2 is around downtown. So goal 2B is about better connecting the downtown between, with major employment centers. And so you've got the strategy there, and then action opportunities. So below that, you'll have, a number of actions that support strategy 2B that is housed under goal 2. So you can kind of see how things nest into one another. And then in terms of the little icons, so every single action item has been given sort of a timeline in terms of when it should be implemented. These are kind of established based on existing resources, constraints, You know, a lot of it's around how much budget do we need, but you can see there how different action items are sort of nestled in terms of timeline or prioritized in terms of timeline. You also see that there's been some estimate around the cost to implement these. So sort of a tool for staff to be able to plan ahead by seeing some of the costs that are associated with implementing some of the action items. And then we do have some, we also bring this equity lens in. And so you can see, for example, action 2B.4 has that little equity icon there. And so some of our strategies that fall within some of our equity goals. And then in terms of actions by timelines, you can kind of get a sense of the work plan. There's a lot of things. You can see the immediate, we kind of warm up a little bit. Short term, we take on a little more. Midterm is where we really get into it with 70 or so action items there, but you can kind of get a sense of how things pan out in terms of how things have been divided up. And then in terms of year one progress, so looking at those sort of immediate, short term, and midterm, and so quickly some definitions. So completed is obviously items that have been initiated and fully completed. Ongoing means that we have initiated the item and it's something that is ongoing. Like one of the examples might be the establishment of our business ambassador team. And so this is now an ongoing program that is available. So it will not have an endpoint. And so ongoing can be considered completed, but it is also important to note that ongoing is now part of our regular team work plan. So it's been added to our sort of everyday care and feeding of the Economic Development Division. In progress are items that we've initiated are working through, and then not started obviously is pretty clear. But in terms of our immediate less than 1 year, we've taken some action on 95% of the actions that have that timeline, which I think is a huge accomplishment. And you see, 5% not started, and that might be for a variety of reasons. It might be because we are down a staff member. It might be because we don't have the resources in place, or it might be because this is a living, breathing, adaptable document, that there are just items that, the environment has changed and we as staff don't think, it may not be the right time to move those forward. I'll have to go in and actually pull out what those specific ones are, but just some context in terms of those. And then you can see, we've actually made progress across all of our timelines here. There have been, again, items that have felt more important to move forward. And so you can see there are some long-term items that we've actually initiated, again, because this is a living, breathing document. We're looking at the full picture and sort of modifying our work plan on a yearly basis to really be most targeted with the strategies and resources that we have. And then another way of looking at it is sort of progress update by goal. And so again, you have that completed, ongoing, in progress, not started. And you can see we've really moved the needle on every single one of our goals. There's work that's taking place with a fair amount, and we'll dive into the downtown piece, but a lot that's happening and in progress there. But just sort of another graphic to demonstrate what year one has looked like for us. The other thing that we have are, we've established some success metrics. So this was approved as part of the economic vitality strategy, that we would have ways of measuring what success looks like. And so these metrics were established back in April. And so we brought back sort of some updates to council. And you can see how each of these measures of success sort of relate to each of the goals. And so those little dots that are there. As you can see, goal number 2, which is the downtown goal, there's a dot in every single one of those boxes. So there's a lot that this measure of success is actually a good guide for the work we've done in the downtown, because there are sort of connections there. But I've highlighted in blue the ones that are, specifically call it to the downtown. And so you can see office and retail vacancy rate. And while we aren't quite in those target ranges, you can see that we've had downward progress in both of those areas. So we're moving in the right direction, which is really huge. Vacancy is going down. you know, little by little. And then percent growth in year-over-year sales tax receipts. So we'd obviously like this to be in the positive, but we're not seeing, compared to last year, a much smaller sort of decline. And this is looking at, I believe we pulled Q4 rates just because sales tax data, it lags. And so I'm pretty sure this was Q4 of last year. As you remember, we had a election and there's been just some economic turnover. So actually the small decrease is I think quite a win. And we'll be getting more sales tax data for the rest of this year as we progress in. And the number of businesses establishment in downtown, we had a couple of new businesses. And obviously there's always a flux of businesses that come in and come out. But that's really exciting to see that number moving up. And you can see that correlates with the downward trend in some of our vacancy rates.
Question?
Oh, yes.
Can you go back to that slide? The second item from the bottom, number of square feet supporting commercial industrial activities, target 26 million, and both of those markers show 29 million. So is that saying that we have 3 million square feet too much of something? Can you explain that a little better?
No, just that we're above our target. And so that would be considered a positive success metric. If we start to see that kind of going away, that might be something we'd want to look into. But no, it's not showing too much of something. It's just showing that we're exceeding our target. Does that answer your question, Pamela?
I'm thinking.
Okay.
So one of the things that we don't show in listing and the economic vitality statement does talk about the vitality of residents. This doesn't have anything about housing or lack thereof, or is that part of the measures that we're reviewing?
So these are the measures you see in front of us are the only measures that we have that were established in 2024. At the council meeting last month, there were a couple of additional measures that were requested. There was one wanting to know, getting more detailed data on our business license tax and having businesses broken out by tier. And so you could get a better sense of the different, the number of businesses in each of the tiers. And then the other one was actually looking at Measure G funds, so our property transfer tax, looking at the number of businesses above that threshold. The other item that was the council brought up was wanting to see how long it takes for permits from start to finish, like the average approval, permit approval rate process. So those are ones that staff was directed to go back and investigate, but there were no other measures of success that council has added for us to start tracking on.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
If I may add, I think more around the housing, I think the needle will move a little bit once we are more deeper into our downtown precise fund update and making some adjustment to our land use policies for downtown.
Thank you, Diana. Okay, so let's jump into goal number 2. So this is our downtown focused goal. So you can see it's all around sort of reinvigorating downtown and really wanting it to be this pedestrian scale place where there's great opportunity and draw for shopping and dining and social engagement. So each of the strategies, and I know you can read them, but we'll just go through them together. So there are 5 strategies that are specific to downtown. And so obviously the first one is what Diana's working on. So it's our update to our downtown precise plan. And we'll talk about some of the action items that are specific in there, but and as Diana can share, we are underway with strategy 2A. 2B is really around, again, improving those connections between downtown and our major Mountain View employers, especially as we've seen sort of the shift in work from home trends and some of the office vacancy in the downtown. These connections to some of our larger employers become all the more important. And so you'll see that we've got some action items related to that. Expand cultural and civic activities. So there's been a lot of work that we've done around that. But yeah, around the sort of the cultural, social side of things. And then strategy 2D is around our downtown parking strategy. So the downtown parking strategy was adopted in 2021, and it's has a number of recommendations around management, supply, regulation of parking, really to support our current downtown economy, ensuring that there is enough and well-managed parking, and also trying to support some of our alternative modes of transportation through some of our parking policies. And then strategy 2E is really around creating that sense of place and experience. And we'll, like I said, dive into some of the action items, but really wanting to create a place like with the ribbons where people have a real clear image of what downtown Mountain View is in their mind. And it feels like a really authentic place where they want to be. So I can pause there, or we can dive in and get a little clearer of what each of these strategies actually mean. Okay. So we're getting into a little bit of the minutia here, but again, I think it's important, especially as we then go to approve our council work plan item, or our committee work plan item, which is next. So strategy 2A, again, this is around the precise plan. And Diana, feel free to interrupt me at any time, but you can see here around, there's a number of different items that are related to supporting the downtown precise plan. So for example, 2A, 3 and 4, we're looking at absorption targets for residential and commercial growth. I'm sorry, the 4 is the Moffett precise plan, which is sort of adjacent. But doing some additional research to understand the demands in terms of commercial and residential growth, looking at flexible zoning in and around the downtown, looking at some of the feasibility for some of these other kind of like city amenity type spaces. And then a number of, and the other piece of this, so wanting to update our precise plan, but also wanting to bring, maximize appeal and draw, do business attraction and retention. So you can see some items related to that in terms of understanding, what is the demand from the consumer side and how can we support businesses in sort of meeting that demand. You can see where we've started most of these. The only one is sort of that 2A8, which is around exploring the feasibility of an innovation hub campus, a makerspace. Yeah, that one's going to take some partnerships and work and some funding to make that happen. But the rest of these have all been initiated. Diana, do you have anything you want to add in terms of where we are with the precise plan and how it relates to the economic vitality strategy?
So, yeah, thank you. As I think I've met with most of you, we're doing the stakeholder interviews. We're tentatively planning to do a community-wide workshop sometime in August. We're targeting that so that for visioning and goal setting. And I think we're planning to go back to our city council and planning commission with a study session on the same topic of visioning and goal setting to kind of tell them what we heard from the stakeholders, what are some of the, vision related key items that we have found, and if council and EPC kind of agree on that, or what is going to be their direction on that. So that's planned for rest of the year for the downtown plan update.
Thank you. Any questions on strategy 2A? All right, let's jump into 2B. Okay, so this is that strategy around making and some of those connections between some of our employment centers. So again, this one, a couple of these all point to one another. So the first one's really around the downtown parking strategy and providing support and wayfinding for non-vehicular traffic. Some signage that would help connect between employment centers and commercial nodes. To me, this sort of speaks to a more citywide wayfinding program. And in my mind, it's not a short-term project, so it's been labeled as such, but wayfinding programs need to be really thoughtful and are quite expensive to initiate. So that one may need to be rejiggered in terms of how we prioritize that. But our public works team is working on with the Mountain View Community Shuttle and looking to bring in some expansion there, having conversations about about the viability of that. And then we are strengthening signage and wayfinding in Central Expressway. So that's something that's on my work plan. As I know, we've heard a lot from the community that it's hard to get to downtown from Central Expressway. And so, but that's not a city-owned street, so it does require some collaboration and approval from Caltrans. And then working with major employers to create and distribute recommended transit, walking, biking, or transit, walking, or biking routes. So that would be something we'd work with our public works team on to see about creating those materials and getting them distributed. And then lastly is that Passport to Downtown program. This is one of our projects that we'd collaborate with the DBA and Chamber on. Peter, I think you guys had maybe not a Passport to Downtown program, but I know you did stuff during COVID to really promote businesses. So I don't know if you have any thoughts on this one, but this would be a midterm collaboration we'd be looking to address.
We're always open to ideas like that. The Taste of Mountain View is one example of a type of passport program, but that's very focused on a single event. The gift card program that we have is another. It's not really a passport program, but it is a way of engaging more of the businesses in a way that is not specific event oriented. But I don't know of any specific plans that we have on the books right now for anything. But,
Yeah.
love to discuss further.
You're on your list. The chamber is listed in addition to timeline progress. It talks about some, what city departments or community partners we need to work with, and the chamber is listed quite a bit in our economic vitality strategy, as they know. Okay, 2C, this is around expanding cultural and civic activities in the downtown. So, a lot around working with local arts and cultural groups, wanting to bring, regional art galleries, museums, with either temporary or permanent installations or programming in the downtown, looking at pop-up events or pop-up uses in vacant spaces. Again, it's identified a couple of potential partners there. And then obviously working with, for additional holiday celebrations and festivals. As I mentioned, we've got the first ever Pride Parade coming downtown. So, that one, as you can see, is ongoing, and there is movement happening in that space. And then there is, obviously some of on the professional side, some trade festivals. We put on the tech showcase, but always open if there are other trade festivals or fair opportunities that people would be interested in having in the downtown. We'd want to support those. And then, as Peter mentioned, we've got Taste of Mountain View that's happening, and of course our wine festival. But this one also calls out, seeing if there's some regional or local tourism efforts or restaurant groups that would be interested in bringing, a restaurant week or cocktail week in downtown. So that is strategy 2C. And then strategy 2D, again, this is mostly around the downtown parking strategy. I will say it was approved in 2021, and then we were doing a little post-COVID recovery. And so we have been a little delayed in implementing the downtown parking strategy, but I can tell you we are currently working on it. And as I mentioned at our last meeting, that we will be engaging with this as the year continues, as there's a consultant that's been brought on board. We're in the process of getting updated data. So the data that we had was sort of in the shortly post-COVID era. And so we did a round of data collection last month. And so we'll have a clearer sense of what the parking reality is on the ground today. And that will help to inform the recommendations that we prioritize and try and move forward. So I imagine by the time we're reporting out on year 2, that a lot of these not started will be moved to in progress as we start to implement the downtown parking strategy. Is there a question? No. Okay. And then strategy 2E, again, this is around creating that sense of place. And so obviously 2E1 has been all of the work that we've been doing over the last 2 years of, trying to implement the Castro Street pedestrian mall in terms of all the activations and activities and games and, bringing that unique feel to downtown with ping pong tables and of course our decorative street treatment. So there's just been a lot. 2E is in progress and I imagine will just be ongoing as we continue the care and feeding of our downtown. And then we've got, trying to really support programming at the Civic Center Plaza and see if there's ways that we can really support more grassroots community programming. I'm currently looking at looking for ways to really support businesses on the pedestrian mall and being able to bring forward their own unique programming in an affordable and easy to do way. So also looking at that, which is sort of semi-related to this action item. And then of course, trying to just have more regularly occurring public events that showcase and connect to downtown businesses. So you can see the ones that are listed there, the farmers market and music on Castro and Kidstock and, Taste of Mountain View, all the things that are happening in terms of, and just a note here, we say regularly occurring public events, but they may not be, run by the city, but events that are available to the public to participate in. And then, oh, sorry, am I hearing stuff in the Zoom room? No, okay. And then continue to enhance, the gathering spaces. So I love that it calls out interactive water feature, which I think would be a lot of fun, but would be quite expensive and pretty hard to maintain. But we are looking at ways that we can continue to, activate the space and to, expand the demographic there. So make it fun for kids. We've got one of the things that's really great about our downtown is there does seem to be a variety of demographics that can really enjoy our downtown. When I'm down there in the morning, people are down there with their kids, just letting them run around and play with the games. And then, you've got some more, different populations that come for lunch and dinner. And then we've got our whole night scene population. So just looking at ways that we can continue to support all of the demographics that utilize our downtown. Oh, and that's it. That's the end of strategy 2E. So that is sort of a sense of the economic vitality strategy, goals and focus areas for the downtown. Happy to take questions and or provide more information. I believe included in your packet, I included all of the strategy items. Oh, nope, I didn't. But it is available on the council memo that we put together. If you want to see every strategy in its current status, I'm happy to send that over. We have a kind of a weird thing where it doesn't let us combine PDFs, so it makes it a little difficult to package. Yeah, Peter.
I was actually fortunate enough to be at a city council meeting where a lot of this update was presented, and the Chamber of Commerce actually wanted to make a public comment there too, and I'll share some of the highlights with you. First of all, is that we are 200% in favor of the EBS strategy, supportive of the EBS strategy. We think it's one of the best documents that's come out of the city in a long time. Especially its depth and complexity, because oftentimes we sit there and say, oh, we just need to do this one thing. And that's really not what this is designed to do. There were a number of things that we mentioned that are great, and Amanda shared a lot of those. There were two things we mentioned that we wanted to make sure the city understood. And one was what really moves the needles for our businesses. One of the things is just the cleanliness and approachability of the street. So, cleaning, and we were just talking about the sewer, a little bit of the sewer problem, the rats and the drains, and things like that. So making sure that the city is staffed enough and doing this regularly enough to make it a clean and vibrant spot. The other thing that really moves the needle is with the permitting process. And so, there are permits, and then there are permits, and then there are permits you need on top of the permits, and so on and so forth. And whereas it's great to have express permits MV, if you haven't tried it, please do. It's a great way of checking on what permits you need and how to get it through the process more quickly and all that. Again, though, if you have a project and requires 6 of them and all of them happen serially rather than in parallel, that adds to the problems and the complexity. And so we want to make sure that while that's not necessarily a specific part that the precise plan can address, the city as a whole needs to understand that it's related and to make sure that that's linked in as well. And the other thing we said was that there are a lot of things on this list. And the last thing we want to see happen is that they say, you know what, let's just do the top 5 and then we're done. They're interrelated and they have an impact on each other, and we need to continue to look at it as a group. So I think that was all well received by City Council, and we, the chamber, and I'm sure Amanda too will be updating you as we have more on that. But understand that those points were made too. The other thing too that we mentioned to City Council is that this has been dumped on economic development's plate and a bunch of other stuff. And so staffing is huge, and that the city needs to understand that this needs to be properly staffed. So again, we're trying to, and I think that the downtown committee can also reinforce that too. If these are important, then the city should look at what are our staffing priorities and to make this commensurate with that. One thing that wasn't mentioned, but I do think that we need to talk about at some point, is that, as you know, the Downtown Precise Plan is a plan that goes for many years. And there's going to be construction involved during that time. And we've mentioned this separately, but I think we need to do this more programmatically, is that what happens when the shovel drops? Okay, what happens when the barriers go up and you can no longer walk on the street? What happens during those times? How can we make sure that our businesses remain vibrant, they remain accessible, and that we keep downtown a place to come even when construction is going on? And so as we get, and we're a little ways away from that, I would say, but as we get closer, I would love to make sure that this group has input on that as well.
Chamber also mentioned safety at the council meeting.
We did mention safety. All that, yes. Thank you.
So if I could just bring your attention to attachment. Oh boy. Well, there's so many attachments, but it's the last page of this item this before you get to 7.2. There is actually a map that is included, and so you can see all of the different. This is sort of the construction projects we are aware of and are in the pipeline. So it's sort of in response to your question, Peter. This is something we are tracking on, and you can see there's a lot that's planned. In terms of public city infrastructure projects, on private development. As I mentioned, we are working with a communications firm on a strategic communications strategy that will have toolkits. So how do we talk to the public about things that are happening? How do we make sure that they're in the loop that, hey, you're not gonna be able to park in your favorite parking lot, but hey, there's parking right down the way, and make it really friendly and inviting, even though there's work taking place, and also orient people to what construction gets us, which is new development, new businesses, new buildings, reinvestment, which is really exciting. My sort of pet hope for this project is that we get some beautiful construction fencing. So it's something that I'm really pushing for, that we, that when there are construction fencing that go up, it's not the best look, and especially when we have fencing that the public will see and have to walk by day in and day out. So it's the little things like that. So how can we make it more visually either beautiful or less intrusive, and then how are we communicating and have different strategies for that? So it's on the top of our mind too, Peter. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I could add, public works, economic development, planning, and building. All these departments coordinate on creating this map. Started probably towards the end of COVID, and a great amount of focus is on pedestrian activity going around. And how's that gonna work if, some of our sidewalks and a long stretch of our sidewalks are gonna be closed during construction. So that is going to be a key focus, and we put a lot of emphasis on that.
And one more comment, Amanda's comment about construction fences. I agree. When they're all off center and the cement posts are making people trip when they go by. When Stanford was doing the new children's hospital, they used a parking area as a staging area for equipment. And along the edges of the fence, they put up big visuals of historic photographs of Stanford University. And it was so much fun to walk by there or drive by there and figure out, okay, that probably is a photo from 1920 showing the rowing team or, you know, whatever. But it really added excitement and interest on something that would
Make it a point of
normally.
interest rather than just a big ugly sign. Yeah.
Yeah, or that the green stuff that gets all the screening that gets all beat up and torn and doesn't look very good. So even if we just did giant logos of the city and just repeated those, even in black and white, just something other than just that green or black screening fencing stuff.
You know, the Wells Fargo, how they have those murals of
Mhm.
old time, you
Right.
know, just random people picture day,
Right,
day,
yeah.
day kind of a
Right,
thing.
yeah.
I always look at it, right?
Yeah.
And you're just like, what, these people, you know?
Yeah,
And it's
right.
like, I think it's such a beautiful, you know, just to bring old time Mountain View, and I think everybody would look at it, you know,
Mhm.
especially history buffs or, you know, anybody's like, oh, how far we've come or how far we didn't come or like how similar.
did
it
they-
is.
how did they
Yeah,
use
did-
that?
Exactly, right? Like, I think that's great.
I don't know what those cost, but it would be wonderful if we could put that into the budget. Beautification, and maybe they can be reused again and other projects, except that, of course, keeping inventory and where they're going to be stored, that's not something else to think about. But anyway, it would be wonderful if we could put that into the mix.
And I think we've already seen, if you paint the ribbons along the street, people want to take a photo and Instagram it. So if you have something that's
Or even-
Instagram.
Yeah, even do the ribbons on the fencing screens. That would be another way to reinforce downtown.
Which brings me, what is the current situation on the murals? I just met a muralist, by the way. I
Are they
just met.
contracted?
That was my question. What is it like? What do they need to have? What kind of like, because he asked me what kind of license. I'm like,
So
So,
are you talking about the one on the train station? So there's going to be 8 murals on the train station, and Anita Rosen is the one that's spearheading that. She's working with city staff. And the Historical Association is going to be doing some consulting on, there's going to be QR codes, and we'll be able to take a photo of the QR code, and then there'll be history behind the stylized murals.
Like, I can add a little bit
Yeah,
of context to that.
Kirsten
So
is one.
Kirsten Hines, economic development strategist. So the Arts Mountain View is a local nonprofit. They've been working with the Visual Arts Committee to prepare kind of a recommendation or proposal to bring up to the city manager's office. And so it would be a donation to the city. And so we're kind of working through that process. So the Visual Arts Committee recently made a recommendation to bring up to the city manager. So it's not murals, but it's art panels. And so the panels would be installed onto the building. They'd be, the purpose is to be vibrant color. It was initiated through Valley Transportation Authority grant. And so there's some stipulations around kind of like bringing in the history and diversity of the community and making it really vibrant to see from the train. So it hasn't been officially approved yet to put on the building, but we're working through that process, and so we'll provide updates to you guys too when we get further along. And in terms of the mural requirements, so in the last year, there's been a memo that was released from the state that says that public projects, if cities need to hire licensed contractors to do murals or any public art installations. And so that's delayed some of our art projects. And that is something that there's a bill, a Senate bill 456 that's going through committee review right now. It's anticipated to get reviewed by the governor this fall. I think committee review has been generally positive. So we're hoping that it gets passed. The bill would exempt muralists from needing the contractor's license, which would hopefully allow us to move forward with our projects. Private projects, and any private business can put a mural on their space. There is a small permit requirement. The city just looks at the mural to make sure it's not advertising or signage. But other than that, private private businesses can put murals on their own spaces. They're not subject to the same requirements that the city is.
And that's why the bollards have not. been
Yeah.
needed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a commercial requirement.
Mhm.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Thank you, Amanda. Any comments from the public?
Not seeing any online.
Okay, so Amanda, is that the end of your conversation on that?
That is the end of 7.1, yes.
Great, thank you so much. There was a lot of information there, a lot of details, and thank you for providing that to us. Okay, we're now ready to go to 7.2 Downtown Committee Work Plan. There were 2 attachments with that. Required by City Council Policy A-23, the committee will prepare an annual work plan that will be submitted to council for review and approval in fall of 2025. A draft down committee work plan for the fiscal year 25-26 was discussed at the May 6th downtown committee meeting and returns today for adoption. So, Amanda.
Yeah, I don't have anything to add other than I took your comments and edits from our meeting last month and made those. So really just here today seeking approval unless there are some major changes that we want to see, although it will make it a little tricky for us in being able to get this submitted to council on time. So I'm hopeful that we can just proceed with an adoption today.
So is there any comments or questions on attachment number 1?
The only comment I have is that, does the city require, in terms of adoption, I think, firm dates, or is putting TBD or ongoing sufficient?
My understanding is that that is sufficient, that it's our work plan. And so as long as it meets our needs, I have not been directed to provide more specificity.
So if I may add, for advisory committee work plans, it is pretty standard, like there are certain items which are going to continue on an ongoing basis by the advisory body, and that's shown as ongoing. But if you look at, number E, like the stuff related to business improvement areas, we have some timeline in there, and fall, spring, Q3, Q4 kind of timeline is what we see in most of the advisory body work plan items. So that is pretty standard.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, I think item number 3, TBD, the develop a budget, that we've never done that before. So that's unknown, known as far as a line item. Question, Peter?
No, I just want to make sure that we don't, overpromise and underdeliver or something.
Yeah.
Read it.
I just wanted to, mention the opening of Evelyn Access Point from Central. And I'm not sure if this would be part of this, but just to kind of remind people that Vitality also is active. If we don't have access to downtown from a very strong, very important freeway or highway, what is that? What is that? Expressway and 101, right? I think we are bringing our downtown into service. I think it can be at least a temporary improvement until the city or the state is ready to do the train thing or whatever, the crossing underneath or whatever.
So Marina, and I know we can't discuss this, but can you explain, are you hoping to have vehicle access from that point or more? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, the reasoning behind it is just, to me, honestly, doesn't make much sense because they say that it's because of stopping. I think it's an easy fix, either to put a police officer temporarily there until people learn not to stop there. I think it's a different story now than what it was during COVID when, a lot of Door Dashers would stop. But I think today, it may not, we're not in the same situation. And I think that could be a very easy pass through, very easy access And I'm not talking about going left on Evelyn, I'm just going right, just have that one access into the parking lots.
From Central,
Garages, from
turn right on
Central.
Evelyn,
Yeah.
get to the parking lots, is
Correct,
the
yeah,
idea.
yeah, right.
We have the.
So again, we can't have discussion on this since it's not agendized, but I will just add some context from staff. So the reason, essentially what we've been told, and we have our traffic engineers whose job it is to look at, risks and traffic patterns and how we keep everyone safe. And it was pretty much determined that because cars, and I can pull up the little map actually that might be helpful. I drew it out, but cars, as they're making the turn onto Evelyn, they don't realize that they don't have a lot of space to queue. So if there are pedestrians that are crossing, cars that are backing out, there are situations that get created whereby trains end up on the train track. And we had 3 near misses in the span of one day, the first day that we closed it down. So there were 3 near train car collisions that took place. And so the city determined that it was a huge safety risk. And so the only way that we could proceed with opening would be to remove the 100 block of the pedestrian mall. So those are the kind of things that we have to weigh, deciding, they're always, things that we have to weigh and balance, and that would be the only path through. It would be essentially taking all of the patios areas and removing the 100 block of Castro Street. So, we can bring in the city engineer and have a discussion, but that is sort of the environment we're in, where it's too much of a safety hazard. And that we had the train, like I said, some near misses that happened there. So it's a tricky one, but just so you have all the information in terms of all the things that need to get sort of weighed to ensure maximum safety there for all the different modes of transportation. And again, if we'd like to agendize this for a future meeting, we can have more discussion, but just a little bit of background there. And actually, if I could just share my screen, I worked really hard on this little graphic for the March Downtown Digest, and it just helps to kind of show the situation there. And so I'll just pull that up. But you can see train tracks. So the little yellow box there. So really there's only one space for a car to queue before you end up on the train track. So if there's anyone on the crosswalk that is noted in the dark blue, or there's any parking cars that are pulling out on the parking spots on Evelyn, cars have to stop. And so there's only one car that can safely queue. And so part of the challenge is the light blue, it has limited visibility. So if you're making a right-hand turn, you can't necessarily see before you've made the turn and have ended up almost on the train tracks that there's backup. And then again, on the left-hand turn, because it is such a wide turn, you may not necessarily be able to see that there's backups. And so we end up in the little scary, jagged red line complex zone. And again, that was where we had a number of near misses. So I know it's not ideal. And one of the things that I mentioned that's in our EVS strategy is around looking at improved signage for Evelyn. And so at the moment, that is what the city is pursuing in terms of trying to make that an easier access point that people can, there'll be some clear signs and cookie crumbs that get people to downtown through a different point.
Amanda, can we put this on a future agenda? Because there's actually 2 points there, which I'm not going to talk about because it's not agendized, but if we could put that on a future agenda and have a more robust discussion about this.
Can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, I added it to our future agenda list.
Thank you. Okay, are there any other comments from our group? Any comments from the public? So do we need to vote on this, or is this just passing on to the?
Nope, we need a vote to final approval.
All right, so can I entertain a motion to approve our work plan as presented?
I'll move.
Jamil in a second. Second by Marina. Can I see an aye for those who approve our work plan as presented? Aye. Any nays? Okay, and that passes unanimously. All right, let's move on to item number 8, committee staff comments, questions, committee reports. Does anyone have any comments or reports they would like to present? Question,
We mentioned the lot 12, when that might be breaking ground. So I think we've talked about this in the past, but the farmer's market happens there. And then I think I also heard that the VT may eventually put like a multi-story parking garage on the parking lot over there. So I guess the question is, what's gonna happen to the farmer's market? Because it was like discussed in here that it's like a big part of the economic vitality of downtown. So I don't know if that's. Well, actually, I did find out that downtown originally, when they built it, was set up to have a farmer's market, like it's wide enough, it's got electrical outlets, and then for many reasons, it got moved to which is fine, but I'm just wondering, like, are we gonna have farmer's market in downtown? Like, where's it gonna go? So,
this is not on the agenda, so we would need to.
yes, that's a
Yeah.
question,
Yeah.
just a question.
Great.
Yeah. And just a note, Stephanie, I am actively working with the farmer's market, so we're in discussions already. Yeah, but you make a great point.
Okay, the Historical Association will be conducting a walking tour on Sunday, June 22nd from 2 to 4. We meet at the train station and we walk and talk and talk. So that's listed on Eventbrite, and we'll be doing some more promotions on that later in the month. Pardon?
Do people have to sign up?
Yes, we have to sign up. There is a $10 charge for Mountain View Historical members and $15 for non-members. And the reason we charge for it is because we want to make sure that those who sign up actually show up. Because I have stood there before with about 2 people, and it's not worth my time for 2 people. So, but if they pay, it is worth my time because we got money from them, even if they don't show up. So then it becomes worth my time. So in any case, those are fun. Any other comments? Jamil looks like.
Just one comment, it was not in the downtown, but the Memorial Day event was well attended
At Eagle
this
Park.
year, Eagle Park, and it was 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War. It was fantastic, and people walked towards downtown and came by these restaurants too, you know.
It was also the 80th anniversary of VE Day.
E-Day.
On May 8th. So that was another event too, right?
Fire department honor guards and all that, fantastic.
It's a great
Yeah,
ceremony. We
great
were out of town, but it's a great ceremony. Any other comments? Yes,
Just
Sean.
since we raised the public safety issue. One thing I think is pretty important to note is where people are congregating before they go out at night. You quite often see people drinking in the parking lot between Bryant and Cherry Lane. So that's generally where you see a lot of people hanging out before they get onto downtown. Also probably a good just checkpoint for public safety. And especially at the end of the night, you'll see people leaving through there. So I'm sure if probably still got a lot of alcohol in their system.
Between Bryant and Cherry Lane on the left.
Yeah. They're right there. Coming out of the parking lot.
structure.
Yeah.
It's just a place I've noticed it.
Mhm.
So those are all legal aid aged drinkers, right?
I didn't ID them.
You didn't card anybody?
Citizens restaurant, should be right.
Of course, open containers not approved by law.
So if there are no other, okay. Yeah.
So. Are you sure, Maria?
Yeah. go for it.
Okay, all right. So the DBA is going to be hosting an open house. We are still working on a date because the intent is really to highlight our local businesses, because putting a face to a business is always important. And to be able to have the businesses kind of say, no, this is who we are, this is what we do, and these are some of the challenges that we have downtown. We did this back towards the end of the pandemic when Shop Local was a huge directive. And it's worth doing, renewing it. And Marina is going to be one of the panelists. Jean's going to be one of the panelists from Red Rock. I think that we're having Jamil, Junaid. Remember to sign? They're going to be, they're going to be 4 panelists representing 4 different types of businesses. And we encourage the public to come and
Those hands raised too.
oh, okay. Marcel, I'll probably refute everything I've said, and that's fine. But the idea here is both for the public to get to know our business, but also for the city to understand kind of, you know, what's going on with them and some of the concerns. This is definitely a chance to spotlight our businesses and to really promote them.
Any tentative timeline on like when you're planning on doing this?
So Marcel has her hand up. I'm guessing that she's going to share something.
Well, I just wanted to highlight that it'll be Marina, Jean, Juan from Ava's, and Carrie from Books Inc. That'll be the current panelists. Right now, we were aiming for a few weeks from now. I think our date was June 26th, but it seems that there's going to be not a city council meeting, but a meeting in which some of the city council staff will be attending, and we really want to make sure that we can have, you know, as many city council attending so that they can also partake in, you know, what our downtown businesses are saying on this panel and getting to know all the other downtown business leaders and managers as well. So we're still working on a date in that sense, trying to figure out what works best on everyone's calendar. But we're aiming for a Thursday evening, so 5:30 to 7:30, doors open at 5:30. You know, the panel or the presentations will be from 6 to 7, and then you have another additional half hour to mix and mingle amongst folks. So that's
Is there a venue?
Monte Carlo.
Okay, okay.
So there's going to be, you know, food, refreshments, so it's gonna be all to mingle. It's gonna be nice. Like last time, it was great. People had a really good time, and you know, food and drinks. Not alcohol, but like, it made people kind of really participate and enjoy the evening and contribute, and it was really good.
Yeah, I mean, the best reactions we get people say, I never knew you were here or you did
Yeah,
this.
yeah.
That's absolutely the best thing.
Especially to showcase new businesses and to really put a face to what you said earlier.
If we can get a date and confirmation on that, I want to make sure that community development, including economic development and planning, and Christian as well,
Yeah.
is informed about this.
Diane, yeah, we're actively working with the chamber on dates, so we'll keep you posted, and we're helping to coordinate with Christian's calendar as well. But agreed, we're hoping to have a good showing. All right, so I guess I'm just pending any other updates. I just want to note that we are off in June and July and August. So per our approved meeting calendar, we will not be meeting next month nor the other month, so we'll have a little bit of a break and we'll be reconvening in September. Just wanted to get that out there. But yeah, if there are other updates, please.
That'll be September 2, Tuesday, and Monday, September 1 is Labor Day, so it's following yes, right after.
Yeah.
We're all gonna be hungover here.
So,
It's
go
gonna
away
be
for
Art
the
and Wine
weekend.
Festival too, so, you know.
Go away for the weekend, come back Monday night.
And since we aren't meeting the next couple of months, just a reminder that the Taste of Mountain View is happening on June 11th. Tickets are available now. And then the Tech Showcase is happening the 16th and 17th of July. And that will be it out here in the plaza.
Okay, any other comments? Questions? All right, so if there's no more comments, we will adjourn.
Sorry, Chair, Vice Chair, it looks like Justina Chang from our real estate team has raised her hand.
All right, go
Hi,
ahead.
Justina.
Can you hear me, everyone?
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you. Sorry about the connection earlier. I just want to give a little bit update status for the outdoor patio license renewal. So there are total about 40 businesses that need the outdoor patio license renewal, including 3 new businesses. So far, we have 10 businesses have completed their entire application review process and are ready for DocuSign. 20 of them, half of them are still in the process of submitting their missing documents like insurance, update insurance documents, and about 10 businesses we haven't heard back from. But we already sent out like 4 emails, keep reminding them, reach out. We are working closely and following up with each business for their, just remind them while they helping them to go through the new platform, application renewal platform, and then submitting all the documents and helping answer question. We have an open office weekly on Wednesday afternoon, and we will have a Zoom meeting, try to reach out. If anyone can help remind the business, that would be really appreciated. Thank you.
Justina?
Yes.
If you can share that list of 10 with the chamber and the DBA, we can also help in terms of outreach.
Oh, okay. That would be great. Thank you.
And since we're just adding, Monte Carlo is opening its patio. End of this month, I guess. So to be announced.
So you're one of the 10 who have properly filled out. your
I have done it all. I am about to pay my bill.
Great.
That's good.
All right. Any other comments? Seeing none, we will adjourn today's meeting at 9:26 a.m. Everyone have a wonderful summer and see you downtown. Thank you.
Thank you, folks.
Hi.